BTSW Productions.
Cayman Islands and the Cayman Connection UK. I've been helping with the students and the organisation of the event with UKOTA. It's a really fabulous event to get all of the different overseas territory students together in an environment where they can discuss similar issues and challenges and meet each other and network, and it's been a really great event.
In the Turks and Caicos Islands, the maritime affairs is something that is near and dear to us, as our tourism industry heavily depends upon it, as well as our fishing industry. So it is very important and it's very encouraging to see young Turks and Caicos Islanders and Turks and Caicos Islanders from a cross spectrum of backgrounds, studying at A level, studying at master's levels, as well as studying at the legal level, joining in with other OT students to discuss ideas about Brexit, the Maritimes, and how it will impact all of our nations.
Well, I think engaging with each other, connecting as overseas territories and sharing our similar concerns and learning about each other is what I think is one of the best things about this event. The museum's been fantastic, and to see the artifacts from history spanning over all of the overseas territories is just fascinating, and I think that everybody's got a lot out of that.
But the idea is that once I've taken you around quickly and shown you, then do have a look yourself, ask any questions you want. We've got one terminal here with the catalogue. If we haven't got anything out for your territory, you can obviously look on there and try and find something that we might have. And obviously we'd welcome you back if you wanted to come and find out more.
What if we wanted, because I believe earlier, I believe it was Dr. Robert that was speaking about, the fact that there should be other artifacts in each territory, but it's just hard to find because of how it's categorized.
Exactly.
What if someone from the territories wanted to come and try to help people easily find artifacts from the territories? How would we go about doing that?
That's a great point, because we had Siobhan came here, Sarah was a part of the group as well, and Benito, who came from the British Virgin Islands, as well as quite a few other representatives about, was it a year ago or so, Sarah? But they were actually telling us more about, obviously, the stuff that was going on, that we were showing them than we knew ourselves. So that's a very good point. And I think if you'd be interested in doing that, there's quite a sort of movement at the moment to sort of recategorise, recatalogue, enhance catalogue records, because they've all been catalogued mostly from one perspective, particularly here, because a lot of it came in the 1930s, so it was just from a British perspective, really. So so that would be really interesting to explore if you wanted to do that. Anyone wanted to do it. So,
I think I personally would.
Yeah, great.
That'd be fine.
Definitely.
Come and help.
Yeah, I suppose practically we should just gather that information and then maybe get people together and we can follow up on that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, let's show you a few things. We'll go around from this end here. So this is this is a map from that period done by one of the Navy hydrographers, and you can just see this is it's not easy to decipher, but this is the sort of outline of Spain with Gibraltar here, and this is the top of Morocco coming through. I think Tangier is here, and you can see it says charts of the Straits of Gibraltar, and there's various sort of things that you can read on here to find out what it's about. This bit here we were looking at the other day, which says betwixt these lines marked with M and M, you can probably see an M and an M there, is the Straits of Gibraltar, where and we couldn't work out what that word was, or current which had no dependency upon the moon sets into the eastward. So what we reckon is this bit here is the bit that was navigable through the Straits of Gibraltar. So that was obviously a key place for the Navy, the British Navy, to be in charge of, so they could monitor everything going through to the Mediterranean. So beautiful map with a lot of these are called cartouches, these things, so illustrations on the actual map, and various information about the tides and the time and the moon. So do have a look at that. Maps are fantastic anyway, because obviously I'm a geographer originally, so they're so easy to use rather than have to read a whole book. You can obviously look at a map and pick up a lot of information. So as we said, after I'll do a quick introduction to all of these, but after that do feel free to have a look back and try and decipher some of the information on the map yourself. This one's a great little journal. I was talking about journals of people who have played parts in important moments in history. And this chap is a wonderfully named chap called he's called, oh hang on a sec, for James Spratt it is. So this is his journal. He was at Trafalgar, the Battle of Trafalgar, and if you look on that map here, you can just about see Cape Trafalgar. So the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, we've got a whole gallery dedicated to Nelson upstairs. So that was Nelson's greatest moment at Trafalgar. And this just describes James Spratt and his adventures at the Battle of Trafalgar. So he was on the HMS Dreadnought. And this is quite a funny story. We feature it in the gallery upstairs. I'll just read this bit here. It says, I plunged overboard from the starboard gunway with my cutlass between my teeth and my tomahawk under my belt, and swam to the stern of the Aigle, and that was his French ship. So he's on his own here. He's jumped into the sea and he's swimming across the Aigle. He says, where by the assistance of her rudder chains, so they had big chains at the back of the ship, so he climbed up. I got into the gunroom stern post. Alone, my men. I got into the gunroom stern post alone. It says, my men, in the loud clamour of a general engagement, not hearing what I said, or misunderstanding me, did not follow. So I fought my way under God's guidance through a host of gallant French, all prepared with arms in hand, and through all decks until I got on her poop, and that's the poop deck, the top deck of the ship. So it's quite interesting, because if you go to the previous page, they couldn't launch any of the small boats to go and capture the Aigle. So you see James Spratt, who sort of stood up and said, right everyone, come on, let's go and get them. And he jumped in. By the time he'd swum over and got over there, as he says, he found he was all alone, and he assumed they hadn't heard him. They obviously probably thought he was mad, so didn't follow him. But it's just, it's a really interesting story, and he actually survived. He got to the poop deck, he was surrounded, and he says here, he suddenly realised he was alone, so he put his hat that he had on the top of his musket and waved that, and the ship that he was on, the Dreadnought, came alongside and rescued him. So it's a fantastic story. He was quite badly injured in the end, and he ended up at Greenwich Hospital, actually. And there's a whole description here. If you look at this book, do have a quick look at the second bit, because that's all about him in hospital, in Gibraltar, in fact, and how he was, made better there. Lots of descriptions of maggots and wounds, so that's great fun. So, yeah. So moving on down, let's have a quick Thomas Jeffreys, who was geographer to the King, and that was George III at the time. So these are just beautifully illustrated and surveyed maps, and again, it's worth a quick look. Do, as I said, come back and have a look yourselves when we have a bit of time in a second. But you may not know that all British territories were coloured pink, and I think you should be able to tell here. I think the orange is Dutch, the French is the blue, I think the Spanish is the yellow there. So, I mean, do have a look at it, because I'd rather not just tell you everything, because it's worth you finding out. But there is one interesting thing here, just where it says, there's a place called Treasure Point, and it says so called by the freebooters, I think it says, from the gold and silver supposed to have been buried here after the wreck of a Spanish galleon. So if you want to make a note of those coordinates, you might be able to go and see if it's still there. But there's some quite interesting things. Something about I think we've got a crab island here, where it says so called because of the quantity of crabs that live on the island. So some fairly obvious statements on the map. But this one's of the main island of the British Virgin Islands, so Tortola here, and this is around about, I think it's 17. Where is it? Should be here somewhere. Anybody spot a date on here? 17. I think it's 1780 something. Can't spot it at the moment. Oh yeah, 1798, that's it. So yeah, and this is all the plantations on the island and who they were owned by. It's been done for this chap who lives in Hampshire, Isaac Pickering. We don't know a lot about him, but it shows that the bulk of what was going on the island were sugar plantations and cotton plantations, and you can see various sugar works as well, where the sugar cane was obviously manufactured or produced. So yeah, so that's worth a look. But obviously the plantations were a massive. It was well worth him having a massively wealthy thing for certainly for Isaac Pickering. This is moving down to I'm trying to find one that someone here. So this is Bermuda. Anyone from Bermuda? Ah, yeah, you spoke, didn't you? So I think this is orientated because this is the sort of west end, isn't it? So I think it's the old naval dockyard. So it should be roughly like that, should it? Is that right?
Inside the Sound.
Yeah. So this is 1798. Obviously, Bermuda was a fantastically important dockyard for the British Navy, and this is from 1898, when they're proposing. This is just to produce another couple of cranes on the site, but it's really interesting looking around what was on the island at the time, including this thing, a floating dock here. Because of the sort of limestone, sandstone makeup, they couldn't build a dry dock in Bermuda, they had to have a floating dock, and they built that, and obviously it's like a thing that can sink, put the ship on, and then they let out the ballast, and they can repair the under the ship more easily. And then, so if you look through here, there's various storehouses. You can see over here there's a recreation ground. So the whole thing is set up for the Royal Navy on the site there. I think there's the ordnance stores. We're looking at the magazine pond here, a big load of water right by the magazine. So if there were any fires there or explosions, they could deal with that quite easily, and all the various barracks and storehouses that were needed. And I think the dockyard went on right from sort of American Wars of Independence right up to the 1950s, and it's the National Museum now, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, a lot of the buildings still survive.
The Maritime
I think,
Museum
is on the end.
Commissioner's House.
Yeah. There's quite a few buildings still surviving, aren't there? I think. Is that right? Yeah. And this should show you, if you have a look at it, what the original usage was. So again, all worth a look. We go around the corner. We haven't got anyone from Pitcairn here, have we? I doubt. It's quite a long way away. So this is actually one of the museum's treasures. This is a medical dictionary by William Buchan called Domestic Medicine. So it's again from the late 1700s. But the difference with this one, because there are a lot of these books around, but this one, as you can probably see from the front, I don't know if you can just about make out on the bottom there, Pitcairn. And obviously the link to that is the mutiny on the Bounty. So this is the medical dictionary that went on the Bounty with the mutineers, and you can see that here with the Bounty 1787, Her Majesty's Bark Bounty. And this, we think, is the sailcloth from the Bounty covering it. So it's an incredibly important book for the museum. Get it out for quite a few talks and to show people coming here. But it's an interesting book in itself. I mean, I think I'm right in saying there were 25 mutineers who went off in the ship. They cast Captain Bligh, put him in a smaller boat, and he went off with another 18. And they went via Tahiti and ended up in Pitcairn. So this was the dictionary they took with them, and would have been really important in case anyone was ill or they needed to treat anyone. And it's quite interesting if you look at the beginning here, where it goes through the contents. And it's not just sort of medical. I won't read out all of these, but there's all stuff about pregnancy, childbirth, cramp of the stomach, nightmares, swoonings, flatulence, always important, or wind. It says just in case you, low spirits, heartburn, want of appetite. So it goes through everything: jaundice, pain of the stomach, pain of the head, vomiting, spitting blood, smallpox, so everything's covered. But the one interesting thing in here, I mean, do have a look through yourselves, but do treat this one rather carefully, is that they do have a chapter on love. And it's quite interesting because it's saying it's not wise to fall in love, or if you fall in love with someone who's not in love with you, then leave it very quickly and try and find someone who is in love with you. So what that's doing in a medical dictionary, I've no idea, but it's under a section called Of the Passions. So it's a terrible thing to do. It is. And then at the end here, it's worth a quick look because it's all done in fusion. So they're almost like natural remedies using herbs and sort of plants and how to make those, which would have been, of course, really useful for the mutineers, providing they knew what the plants were. So. Yeah, have a quick look at that as well. And then this here is the one relating to the Falklands. And this was quite interesting as well, because when we showed this round to the representatives in the territories who came initially planning this day, we had this book. This was just on the end of and we all thought it was the chap who was showing us the documents. We thought that was his notebook, but it's actually probably not surprisingly from the Falklands. We have got historic stuff, but this is to do with the Falklands War in the 1980s. And there's the Canberra Nordic ferry, which I think the Canberra is one of the ships that was sunk. Then damage to our ship, so he goes through that. Air attacks, 2 main waves. The Argentinian severely damaged in ERT, which I'm not quite sure what that is. Yeah, Argentinian losses, putting together all information, including, I presume, that intelligence on there. And all the ships here, Brilliant, Broadsword, Ardent. 14 were lost, just over 50%. So he's working out as a defence attaché what are the sort of acceptable losses in the war. So more than 20% of total serviceable strike, I think, accounted for. In the last war, which I presume he means the Second World War, RAF considered that more than 10% losses, I think that says unacceptable, un-AACC. So it's quite interesting, really, first-hand experience of someone who was, in charge of the naval forces during the battle for the Falklands. So again, do have a look at that. And then finally, these two, we have a great deal of material here relating to the Merchant Navy. So as opposed to the Royal Navy, we have far more to do with the Merchant Navy. So crew lists are a key record we have here. We've got about 7,000 boxes upstairs of crew lists from the 1860s through to 1995, in fact. So these crew lists were basically when the ship sailed, or when a ship sailed, you had to form a formal agreement with the crew. So you would write down all their names, agree what you were going to pay them, see their certificate that proved they were merchant seamen before you employed them. So these two were quite interesting because they're from 1915, so they're the only crew lists we've got for the First World War. And what we did, because we've just catalogued this collection, is just type in, I think we typed in Cayman Islands, and we got up a chap from the Cayman Islands in one of these crew lists. So that's the beauty of being able to catalogue and do the projects where you both digitise and catalogue, because then you can actually find the information, because for the rest of the years we've got, it's not very easy to find particular names. So this one here, I'll just show you this, but again, do have a quick look yourselves after this. So this is just saying the name of the ship was the Chile here, and it was going from Greenock in Scotland to a North American port. It didn't say which one. And then, if you look inside, it just lists, well, gives you various bits of information to do with regulations for maintaining discipline, account of apprentices on board, load line and draft of water, so descriptions of the ship. And then it starts with all the crew, listing all the crew as they go. And you'll see that's for sort of return journeys as well. So that's the Chile. That's going out to America. This is coming back from the Gulf of Mexico to Greenock. So I'll find the. So if you look down here, I think there's this chap, a J. Borden, and it says he's from Grand Cayman, and I think that says something, might be British Island, but it tells you he's 31. Tells you where he was living. Pensacola, I think that is. I think that's Mexico. The year's 1915. His last ship was an American schooner, and that's when he left it on in July 1915. Is anyone here from the Cayman Islands? Or? I am. You are?
Yeah.
Is it true there's a Borden's pizza?
Yes, actually, I got to see.
Did you see that? Yeah, because Martin was saying that, yeah. Do you think that, could be, I suppose?
I'm fairly certain, because in Cayman, there's a handful of surnames that are really distinct.
Yeah.
And these families tend to own shops or supermarkets or
So that could be.
I'm pretty certain, because Borden is one of the older Caymanian names, but it's not one of the most common surnames anymore. So for that to be mentioned, I'm pretty sure it's related somehow to Borden's pizza.
Quite weird. Whether he knew that his descendants have become pizza partners.
It's a really good pizza as well.
Yes.
Cayman, check out Borden's.
So do have. I'll stop there, because it's the real important thing is for you to actually have a look at the records, and if there's nothing.